Back to the Night of Champions with Danny McLaren here at the Indigo O2 in London. I've been touching base with a lot of the fighters, and there's some really good guys amongst them. The like 7-0, 10-0, and you know when they're talking to me, they really want the opportunity to turn professional eventually, and they're taking it really serious at the level they're at now.
What, turn professional in
the pro ranks.
in boxing?
Yeah,
Boxing?
Yeah.
So some lads are using it as a launch pad.
Yes.
From BKB to gloved professional boxing. Okay. Well, I can see that as well, because that's when I guess they learn to market themselves, and they get used to selling tickets, and they get used to having a following, which is a reality of professional boxing. So sometimes it's a springboard for them, right? You know. Sure. I mean, it's something that I think with
Can you think of anybody that's come from down there and gone professional? Fabio Wardley's one that springs to mind.
White collar, yeah.
White collar,
sure.
Yeah.
I mean,
can you think of anybody else that's really got up there and earned loads of money out of it and they're fighting professional?
I think Fabio Wardley is the main standout from someone who started on the white collar scene and rose to becoming a top level TV fighter. He's English champion right now. He's got a big fight coming up. I've got a bit of a tragic tale of a kid who came from white collar to the pros, but it didn't end well. I mean, when I first started getting involved with white collar boxing back in 2007, I started at a gym called City Boxer in Southwark, at the Ring Boxing Club on Ewer Street. And there was a kid there called Michael Norgrove. I say a kid, he was about 29 already. And he was just much better standard than the rest of the guys in the gym. They were all fit, you know. There's a lot of stockbroker types there, you know, classic white collar kind of fodder city boys. And he was one of them, you know, but he was much better than the rest of them. I sparred him one time and he gave me quite a hard time. And I said to him, you know, you should go amateur. So I took him to the Repton and he got to the National Novices Class A final his first year. He won his first 9 fights, then lost one and lost by 1 point in the final. Then he got to the, I think it was the quarter or semi-finals of the Class B novices the next year. He had about 20 fights, 116 of them for Repton. And he had some stoppages and everything else. And then he turned pro, and he won, I think it was 4 on the spin. Then in his 5th fight, he was winning. He was against a journeyman, actually. He collapsed in the ring in some kind of unexplained distress and died. Or he was on life support for a little while after that, several days. And he died, and I think he may have been the last British fighter to die in a British ring, which was this would have been 2013, I believe. Now, the point being that he was somewhat, and you know, and he could have gone places. He was, you know, he was a popular guy who sold tickets, and I think it was a freak occurrence, the fact that he met his end in the ring, because he was not losing that fight, and he hadn't taken any particular heavy punishment, but. It's not the most promising omen, but that's another example I'm aware of.
You know, I've took this concept of the Barnet Boxing Barber, and I'm going around a lot of the smaller hall shows. You know, sometimes 1,500, 2,000 there, and it's white collar, it's unlicensed. I want to really get to know the characters and the people behind the scene. I'm talking to a lot of the fighters about mental health, which is something I dive into. They've touched on my own journey. I feel like I've got something to talk to them about. You know. We were talking off camera, and you think there's a place for me in the sport, and you think I can keep pushing what I'm doing and get involved and you know, keep going and with the big boys.
Yeah, I mean, I think, you know, let's say you've walked the walk in your own little way, and I think you sort of you understand how life-saving boxing can be for people, and we see it in the white collar shows and the white collar boxers I'm involved with all the time. A lot of people who come to you to sign up for a show, they're often going through something in their life, their personal lives, which has been challenging, and they've found it so useful and rewarding, and they experience personal growth in that. And I think that's what your brand is all about. It's, you know, it's about boxing, it's about mental health, and it's about the redemption you find in it. You know, but and also I say from the interviews you're doing, Harry Carpenter never boxed in his life, but he was a good broadcaster, right? Whereas you've got one up on him because you've already been in there, and you know you're pretty good at for someone who's starting out. You have that professionalism and sort of self-possession. So you know you don't have to be Ray Arcel to be a great boxing interviewer. So you're doing great.
Yeah, no, thank you. And coming from you, that means a lot to me. Right, you've had some books out, and I think 3 of them are still in like the boxing best-selling books available on Amazon.
It's a very changeable chart, to be honest with you. They come and go, and they drop out and in on a daily basis. But yeah, there was something a couple of weeks ago, wasn't there, where I think I had 4 of them in the top 100 one at the same time. There was the first 3 were autobiographies, which might be seen as a little bit self-indulgent to write 3. Chris Evans wrote 2, and I kind of was inspired by him, and I thought, well, I deserve one more because I'm not ginger, So, and the other 2 were a biography of Wilfred Benitez, great Puerto Rican fighter, and the kind of notorious Tony Ayala Jr. The Ayala Jr. one was number 1 in the bestsellers. So it wasn't number 1 in bestsellers, I've got to be honest. It was number 1 hot new releases. There is a difference. It's the highest position in bestsellers is number 6, I think, so far. But, I've been really happy with the way that the writing journey has gone because, it was only 3 years ago today I was posting on Facebook an excerpt of chapter 17 of the first book, unpublished, still trying to get people on board, still trying to see if people liked it, thinking about publishing it. That was 3 years ago today. I had no books out 3 years ago today. Now I've got 5. Wow. So, that's kind of cool.
So you went off to South America the other week. Was it
San Antonio?
San Antonio.
That's
you went San Antonio, right?
Texas,
San Antonio.
Texas,
yeah. Because I told you I nearly got into a gunfight just off the Riverwalk, just off the Alamo.
Yeah.
And you was out there, and you was like literally living with the guy in the gym, getting a real feel for him.
Yeah, because Mike Ayala is the older brother of the tragic Tony Ayala Jr. The Ayala story, the family story, is a notorious one in the annals of American boxing. Mike didn't want anything to do initially with a biography of his brother, late brother, who was obviously, he was a rapist and an unfulfilled talent who ultimately died of a heroin overdose. So it's not exactly a feel-good story. Mike has gone through so much emotional damage because of the whole process of growing up in the family he did, and the kind of stain on that family's reputation because of what Tony did. He didn't really see an upside in it. Talking to me. As luck had it, I won his trust over many conversations on FaceTime, and we became close. And I went out to San Antonio, as you say, back in December. And I just went with Mike wherever. He took me everywhere, fair play. He was so committed. Once he decided he did want to help me with the biography, he was so committed. He took me to every damn place that was referenced in the story that we'd ever spoke about. Even if it was as simple as driving up to a building and standing around for a bit, or, obviously going to his brother's grave and all the other landmarks, the Riverwalk included. That was great. Then we went to the gym. I did a couple of sessions with him in the gym, and it was really strict in the gym too, because he was. I get ready. I've got shorts on. I've got a t-shirt. I've got the gloves. He's done the hand wraps, like you're getting ready for a 15-round fight. Then suddenly I'm getting ready, and he's like, "Tuck your shirt in," and I'm thinking, okay, well, look, I would have thought, I'm like 53. It was probably my call whether I tuck the shirt in or not. No, when you train with me, you tuck the shirt in. He didn't like the fact that it was hanging loose, and he was saying to me all the time, like, don't bounce. My style's a little kind of...
I've seen your style. Yeah. So, I just want to hit on, obviously, some of the characters you've met in boxing, because, I've spent the whole day with Ernie Shavers in my shop.
Yeah.
He was preaching down the road.
He doesn't need a haircut.
Well, no, he's sadly passed now a couple of years ago, but what a character. So he knocked on my door in the barber shop, and he said, I'm preaching down the road. They've told me that you speak boxing, and he had the day with me. Did I tell you about the time I played for the part of Clubber Lang with Rocky III, and I wriggled out of a contract with Don King because he spelled Ernie wrong. He wanted me to fight an up-and-coming guy called Mike Tyson.
He spells it E-A-R-N-I-E. Most people would spell it E-R, with an A. He's like ear-knee. Yeah. So that is a great loophole.
But what a character. And I had the splendour of having a day with him in my barber shop, and I didn't want him to leave, and he didn't want to leave, But I think a lot of people don't know out there that there's only 1 or 2 boxers that go Hollywood and lose the plot. A lot of them are just real working class normal guys that are away from it all, just live their life and help others in their community that people don't know about.
I wouldn't say they're normal. I'd say they're anything but normal, but they are very engaging mostly and very personable. And you and they give that access, that priceless access, which you don't get with other celebrities and sports stars so frequently. I think there is something distinctly not normal about a lot. There's extraordinary human beings, but do you know what I mean? But I agree with you that they have that. They have that humility. Michael Nunn, who was one of my idols back in the day. I'm in constant touch with him on Facebook, and he's just always chatting and saying. He will message me saying, "What's up, Ben?" Not the other way around. And this.
Did you meet Roy Jones in a car park in Vegas?
Yeah.
Is he just like Roy Jones? Just off camera, he's just exactly the same as he is.
Roy is brilliant. Yeah. Roy was great value. It was the evening before Floyd Mayweather versus Marcus Maidana 2. Yeah. So it was that was September the 13th, 2014. So this was September the 12th, the night before. We were at an opening for the rival boxing store. Russ Amber was opening a new rival boxing shop in Las Vegas near the airport. Iceman John Scully was the one who got us an invite, and there was a lot of people there. Lennox Lewis, Roy Jones, Sugar Ray Leonard, a younger Deontay Wilder was there at the time, still up and coming, had yet to win a WBC title.
That's when Lennox got him in the car park, didn't he, and had a play with him, showing him how to go on.
It's more than likely, yeah. It's probably I didn't notice that going on, but yeah. But I'd asked John Scully, could he sort me an interview with Roy Jones, and Roy Jones just said, oh, this guy's one of the. I think he said one of the top boxing guys in England. I'm not saying that's true, but I think that's the way he built it. And then next minute Roy came up and said, hey, what's up? Yeah, you want to do this? So we went out in the car park, and I mean, Roy was great. He just wanted to talk boxing, and you know, I mean, do you know he's fighting tonight supposedly?
Yeah, well, that's why I bring it up. So the guy's 54 years old and he's fighting a licensed show.
Apparently so, in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. The opponent doesn't have a boxing record, but he apparently comes from the world of MMA, people tell me.
Let's talk about his association with young Eubank, because what was going on there? What was going on?
The thing about someone like that relationship with someone like Eubank Jr. and Roy is he's coming in to a fighter who's already built to a certain extent. And I remember Eubank Sr. telling me back in 2017 before the George Groves fight, he's built. We harness him, but he's built. So you can't make that much difference to a fighter who's already in, you know, his early 30s, I don't think, who's been boxing since he was a youngster. People started to say that Eubank was incorporating certain Roy Jonesisms into his style and was trying to become Roy Jones, and it was never going to work. The thing is, we don't know if Roy Jones is a great coach. I remember Chrissy Morton, you know, my friend who promotes the white collar shows, and we have one tonight in Ilford. She was saying, "Oh, he's a great coach, isn't he, Roy Jones?" I said, "How do you know that? He's an all-time great fighter, no question." Yeah. We don't know if Roy Jones is a great coach until we see that body of work. Yeah. What we do know is extraordinary talents in a ring don't normally make great coaches. Lloyd Honeyghan supposedly failed the level 1 ABA coaching course. That's part of folklore in our circles. I don't know how he failed it. I believe Terry Dunstan, my mate, was paired up with him for the 2 weekends course, and he said it was very frustrating to work with him because he just wasn't getting it. But he gets being Lloyd Honeyghan, and he was the undisputed welterweight champion of the world. He was. So the thing is, I don't know. First of all, Roy Jones can't teach anybody to fight like himself because he was Roy Jones, and what he did was so extraordinarily unique to him that it's not even worth trying to emulate. You can take things from it, of course you can. But Eubank, I don't feel he ever truly discovered who he was in a ring because he was imitating his father when he started out in certain ways. Yeah. And then, you know, then he went through other phases. He always seemed to be found wanting when he stepped up to what you might call elite level, or even almost elite level, you know, not even full elite level. And I don't know quite what Roy Jones is. I mean, if a fighter likes a trainer and vice versa, and they've got a chemistry and makes him feel good and makes him feel confident, great, that goes a long way. But in terms of him changing his style or making a big difference to him, I don't really think that was necessarily ever going to happen.
No. Do you think that Eubank Jr. could have ever gone back in the ring with Billy Joe Saunders at any given time and fought him and put up a good fight and possibly have beat him? Should he have done it straight away afterwards, or should he have gone away to the drawing board and got rid of his dad straight afterwards? You know, how could he have ever got round Billy Joe Saunders?
I don't see him beating Billy Joe.
I know.
When Billy Joe is anything like Billy Joe. We don't know where Billy Joe's at now. He told me a few months ago he's looking to fight again. He told me he wants to fight Liam Smith. That was what he was looking for, and that's what we talked to Ben Shalom about. But I think Billy Joe anywhere near on song beats Eubank every time probably. But Eubank did okay the first time, but I think people exaggerate. Some people will make you believe he took, you know, Billy Joe to the brink of death, and he was so, you know, it was so close. And the one I love is if only he'd have started earlier. It's like he was shut out the first 6 rounds because Billy Joe was boxing his head off. That's okay. So Mark Tibbs admitted, who was training him at the time with Jimmy Tibbs, he said he died a little bit, you know, is the way he put it. He said Billy Joe was only eating 1 meal a day at one point to make that weight. Yeah. And he said, and he crashed a bit. He said he died in the last couple of rounds. Yeah. And Eubank is a very strong, fit guy. Come on, you know.
Yeah, I thought that. I think Billy Joe sort of went off the ball a little bit towards the end of the fight and made Eubanks look better than he was at times.
I do. I think people exaggerate. People make out that he nearly won or there would have been a case. Was it a split decision, which makes it worse because that makes people think it was closer? That's just one bad card as far as I'm concerned. Yeah. Billy Joe won that fight. Not by a mile, but it wasn't a shutout, but he won it clearly enough with admitting that he flagged a little bit in the closing stages. Yeah. And I think he would have always likely of beating Eubank because Eubank can be outboxed. George Groves outboxed. The Twilight version of George Groves totally outboxed Chris Eubank Jr.
So you've got a bit of an insight with the way Billy Joe is thinking right now, and he obviously wants to come back to the sport, but it would have to be for the right money.
Yeah.
Obviously, everybody knows that he's put a lot of weight on and enjoying family life since the Carnell and money.
Yeah.
But
But he always did.
Yeah.
He always. This is the longest break he's had, and it's the biggest payday of his life, Canelo. But Billy Joe always got big between fights. Always came back to the gym.
Yeah.
Twice the size of his fighting weight.
Do you think he'll come back?
He tells me he will, but the longer it goes, you wonder if he will do. Because, I mean, he must be... Everybody quotes that Marvin Hagler line, it's hard to get up in the morning for Robert when you're wearing silk pyjamas or similar. But he says he's coming back. I mean, we could technically phone him now and see if he'll answer and see if he said, are you coming back or not, Joe?
Let's phone him.
Do you want me to do
Let's
it?
phone him. Let's phone Billy Joe Saunders.
Come on, we're going live. We'll try this then.
We're live. We're going to phone Billy Joe Saunders.
He'll probably mug me
He's
off